We'll look at department budgets now and a few other stuff to finish off this unit. Starting point in a complete budgeting process is the department income statement. The request of the budgeting process, the rest of the budgeting process hinges on the results of these operating departments. For example, a budgeted balance sheet cannot be made up without the budgeted income statements. A cash budget cannot be prepared without what knowledge of departmental revenue and expenses. Long-term budgets for equipment and furniture replacement, for dividend payments or for future financing arrangements cannot be prepared without a budget showing what income is or are going to be generated from what? The operation. Good? Now, budgeted income statements for each department and entire operation are probably the most difficult to prepare. However, once this has been done, the preparation of the cash budget and budgeted balance sheet is relatively straightforward. This video will therefore only deal with income statement budgets since they are prime concern of day-to-day management of a hotel or restaurant. In summary, the procedure is as follows. Estimate sales level by what? Department. Deduct estimated direct operating expenses for each department. Then what? Combine estimated departmental operating incomes and deduct what? Estimated undistributed expenses to arrive at net income. This is the procedure for preparing a budgeted income statement. Alright. First thing, estimating sales level, revenue levels by department. Now, even though the departmental income statements are prepared for a year at a time, they should be initially prepared month by month, revisions if necessary during the budget year in question. Monthly income statements are necessary so that comparisons with actual results can be made each month. If the comparison between budget and actual were only made on a yearly basis, any required corrective action might be 11 months too late. The following should be considered when making monthly revenue projections. Past actual sales revenue figures and trends, current anticipated trends, economic factors, competitive factors, limiting factors. Information about how top management views these trends and factors must be communicated to those who prepare departmental budgets, right? This information must also be put into language that departmental managers understand. That is, in specific numeric terms rather than in what? Vague general language. For example, if an anticipated competitor is due to open nearby during the budget period, top management must state in specific percentage terms how that may influence the operation sales. For example, the dining room revenue for the past 3 years for the month of January was what? $6,000, $65,000, and what? $67,000, right? Good. It is now December in year three, and we are finalizing our budget for year four. Commencing with January, increase in volume for year two over year one was what? 8%, which is 5,000 divided by what? 6,000. Year three increase over year two was approximately 3%, which is what? 2,000 divided by 65,000. These increases were caused entirely by increases in number of customers. The size of the restaurant must not has not changed, and no change in size will occur in year four. Because a new restaurant is opening a block away, we do not anticipate our customer count will increase in January, but neither do we expect to lose any of our current customers. Because of economic trends, we are going to be forced to meet rising costs by increasing our what? Menu prices by 10%, commencing in January year 4. Our budgeted sales revenue for year 4 would be what? 10% times 67,000 plus 67,000 give you what? 73,700. Alright? The same type of reasoning would be applied for each of the 11 other months of year 4. For each of the other operating departments, one other factor that in some situations might need to be considered in sales revenue projections is that of derived demand. In other words, what happens in one department might affect what happens what to the sales revenue of another. For example, a cocktail bar might generate sales revenue from customers in the bar area as well as from customers in the dining room. In budgeting, the bar total sales revenue, sales revenue would have to be broken down into sales revenue with the lounge area and sales revenue derived from what dining room customers. Similarly, in a hotel, the occupancy of the guest rooms will affect the sales revenue in the what food and beverage areas. The interdependence of departments must therefore be kept in mind in the budgeting process. Deducting estimated direct operating expenses for each department. Since most departments, so the first step was to what? Establish, then the folks watch the video. This is what we call self-paced learning. This is a class you're doing, alright? It's not just a video you're watching a class. So the first step was what? Estimate sales revenue levels by what? Department. Next step is what? Deduct what? Estimated direct operating expenses for each department. So we'll go to that section now. Since most department operating costs are specifically related to sales revenue levels, once the sales revenue has been calculated, the major part of the budget has been what? Accomplished. Historic accounting records will generally show that each direct expense varies within narrow limits as a percentage of sales revenue. The appropriate percentage of expense to sales revenue can therefore be applied to the budgeted sales revenue to calculate the dollar amount of the expense. For example, if laundry expense for the rooms department of a hotel varies between 4.5% and 5.5% of sales revenue, sales revenue in the rooms department for a particular month is expected to what, be $100,000. Then the laundry expense for the same month would be what? 5% of the what? 100,000 or $5,000. So go again. If laundry expense for the rooms department of a hotel varies between what? 4.5% and 5.5% of sales revenue, and sales revenue in the rooms department for a particular month is what? Expected to 100,000. Then the large expense for that same month would be what? 5% of 100,000 or 5,000. The same is true for all other direct expenses for which cost to revenue percentages are obvious. While this is a convenient method of budgeting, using historical cost percentages assumes that the costs are appropriate. However, this may not be true. In certain cases, however, the problem might not be as simple. A good example of this is labor, where much of the cost is fixed and does not vary as sales revenue goes up or down. In a restaurant, the wages of the restaurant manager, cashier, and the hostess are generally what? Fixed. Such people receive a fixed salary regardless of the volume of business. All the wages of servers and business and boss help vary in the short run. In such cases, a month by month staffing schedule must be prepared, listing the number of variable staff of each category required for the what? Budgeted sales revenue level. Calculating the total variable cost and adding this to the fixed cost element to arrive at the what? Total labor cost for that month, that is for labor. It is true that this requires some detailed calculations, but without it, the budget might not be as accurate as it could be for effective budgetary control. Staffing schedules for each department for various levels of sales could be developed. These schedules will be based on past experience and standards of performance required by the establishment. Then, when sales levels are forecast, the appropriate number of labor hours or staff required for each type of job can be read directly from the staffing schedule. The number of hours of staffing required or number of employees can then be multiplied by the appropriate rates of pay for each job category. A typical staffing schedule is illustrated below. As you see right here, you have the amount of hours. Now these covers now are the amount of guests that the waiting staff would have covered. So it's up to five. So what this is saying is that the waiter used 970 hours to cover what? 5,500 guests. Bus help hours, the personnel who operate this use what? 485 hours to what? Cover 5,500. Good? This is not referring to the individuals. This is referring to the amount of hours. Alright? And then you add up everything and we end up with, so this is just a continuous figure, right? So this is the waiting staff hours. So this is the amount of hours that the waiting staff, the waiter staff will take to cover what? 5,500 between 550 and 600. This is the amount of hours they will take to cover those persons, right? That's what it is really saying. Okay. Alternatively, if labor and our costs have been broken down for use with the CVP analysis into their fixed and variable elements, then this information is already available for us for use in budgeting. Once all costs have been determined, they can be deducted from the total sales revenue, determine what each department's what operating income. The last step is the what? It's combining estimated departmental operating incomes and what? Deducting estimated undistributed expenses to arrive at what? Net income. The departmental operating incomes determined in steps 1 and 2 can be added together. At this point, certain undistributed expenses must be calculated and deducted. These expenses are not distributed to the departments because an appropriate allocation is difficult to arrive at, nor are they for the most part controllable by or the responsibility of the department managers. These unallocated expenses, otherwise called, usually include the following: administrative, general, marketing, property, operation and maintenance, utility expenses, property or municipal taxes, rent, insurance, interest, depreciation, income taxes. These are normally what? Fixed charges. Since these expenses are usually primarily fixed, they vary little with sales revenue. Historic records will generally indicate the narrow dollar range within which they vary. Sometimes these expenses will vary at the discretion of the general manager. For example, it may be decided that an extra allocation will be added to the advertising and promotion budget during the coming year, or that a particular item of expensive maintenance can be deferred for what year. In such cases, the adjustment to the budgeted figures can be made at the general manager's level. Usually, these undistributed expenses are calculated initially on an annual basis, unlike departmental sales revenue and direct operating expenses, which are initially calculated monthly. So what it is saying is that usually undistributed expenses, right, are calculated what initially on an annual basis. Good, not monthly. In an overall pro forma or budgeted income statement, including undistributed expenses, is prepared monthly. Then the simplest method is to divide each undistributed expense by what? 12. So if you're preparing a monthly budgeted income statement, then The easiest thing to do is to divide the figure for the year by what? 12. And show the 1/12 of the expense for each what? Month of the year. A 3 month budget would show the 1/4 of the what? Total annual expense. However, only the undistributed expenses are handled this way. Sales revenue and direct expenses should be calculated correctly month by what? Month. To take care of monthly or seasonal variations in sales revenue. Now look at this. This is a net income when undistributed. This is a budgeted income. This is a budgeted income statement when undistributed costs are allocated based on what time. All right. Now see there quarters. For example, so exhibit 9.2 shows how undistributed expenses could be allocated in our budgeted period on our quarterly basis, right? Good. All right. The first look at. Exhibit 9.2 also indicates a budgeted loss in two of the quarters. One, two, quarter one and quarter what? Four, right? We would argue that such budgeted losses are misleading because the quarters with low sales revenue are unfairly burdened with undistributed costs. However, we have fixed expenses such as general manager salary, rent, property taxes, utilities, insurance, and interest will be what paid monthly regardless of sales. Another way to distribute such costs would be in ratio to budgeted sales revenue. Such a distribution is calculated in Exhibit 9.3 below. Alright? 15% of sales is for what? Um, fixed for the for the undistributed expenses. 30% in second quarter, 40% in third quarter, and 50% in the what? In the fourth quarter. So each what is saying is that for yeah, I'm saying like that. So for the so what is saying is that for the undistributed costs, 15% of the sales revenue relate to what? Undistributed costs. 30% of sales revenue relate to what? Undistributed costs. So this would have made things more better, right? So what this is saying is that 50%. So sales revenue. What it's saying is that undistributed costs is 50% of sales revenue in the first quarter, 30% of sales revenue in the what? Second quarter, 40% of sales revenue in the what? Third quarter, and 50% of sales revenue in what? In the last quarter. Alright? What is it saying? Now the revised budget prepared with the new method of allocating um, undistributed expenses to the various quarters is shown in Exhibit 9.4. The method illustrated in 9.4 may, as it does in our case, ensure that what? No periods has a what? Budgeted loss. Over the year, however, there is no change in what? Total net income. See it here? No loss. Alright? So everything is okay. Good. See there? No losses. Alright. Thank you very much for watching. Do enjoy the rest of your day.